Let's hit it.
And welcome to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. I'm your host, Lori LeBay, and I'm so excited that you're joining us today. We are going to have a fascinating conversation as usual as we learn from people all around the world at all ages and stages of life. Stay tuned as we shift our dementia care from crisis to comfort.
All right, here we go. What you think about, you will bring about.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. I'm thrilled that you can join us. Today we're going to have a wonderful conversation about the magic of music. But before I introduce our guest, I always like to do some housekeeping. So first of all, if you like that opening song, it's called Clarion Call by the Mark Arneson Band featuring Maya Dore. And you can download that on any of the wonderful music platforms that are out there. Also, for those of you that are new, Alzheimer Speaks is about sound information, not just sound bites. We like to talk to everybody all around the world, all ages and stages of life that are being impacted by dementia. So those living with it, being diagnosed or caring for a loved one or a friend, maybe you are a professional care provider, maybe you are like our guest today, a musician, a movie director, a researcher, an advocate. Everyone is welcome. We've had kids on the show as well that are making powerful changes and projects to affect our dementia care. Now, I want to give a couple of shout-outs. One is to Maple Hill Senior Living and also Moments Hospice. They are sponsoring an event I'll be doing, and this will be both virtual and live. It's going to be a hybrid, September 15th from 8 to 9 a.m. Central Time. That's here in Maplewood, Minnesota. We're going to be talking about perception, stigma, service, and movements going on. Also on the second and fourth Wednesday, I facilitate a virtual memory cafe, which is sponsored by Arthur's Senior Care, and that starts at 1 Central Time, and again, that is virtual. And then I also facilitate a caregiver support group, which meets in person the last Wednesday of each month at 10 a.m. Central Time, and that is sponsored by Brookdale North Oaks and the Shoreview Parks and Rec. And I can give you more information. Just reach out to me at radio@alzheimerspeaks.com. I want to give another shout out to the Brain Donor Project. That's braindonorproject.org. Check them out. They need both diseased brains and healthy. And to my knowledge, there's no cost for that. So that is something really special and can really help push our research forward. And then if you want to push out your calendar to November 2nd, Together for Dementia is an international conference. It's being sponsored by the Dementia Research Charity Brace. And you can sign up for that. Again, that's November 2nd. And we have more information on our main website, alzheimerspeaks.com. Last, I'm going to shout out to Dementia Map, which is a global resource directory. If you haven't checked it out, please visit. We have 150 different categories that people can search. We are not just putting everybody and anybody in there because we want people to respond. And we think that is extremely critical. But there is so much great information, especially with COVID gearing up. People are looking at, how do I cope? So you will find all kinds of great resources on Dementia Map, and that's just dementiamap.com. If you have a resource, product, tool, or information that you would like listed on there, again, you can sign up for a tour with me. I'll do that personally, or you can just go to Join Dementia Map. It's pretty easy to do. So We are going to hear from the footbar walker, and we will be right back, and I'll introduce you to our magical guest about music.
Introducing the life-changing footbar walker.
I'm Peggy from Danville, Kentucky, and I'm 91 years old. The footbar walker revolutionized my care of George. The saving that I made from having to put him in a nursing home came to about $192,000. The footbar walker opens and closes just like a standard walker. The only thing that is different is the top bar and the foot bar. Does that ever make a difference?
Does someone you love use a walker? Do they struggle to get up from a seated position? Are you a caregiver dealing with physical pain and stress as you help your patient? The footbar walker was designed to assist not only the patient, but also the caregiver. Patients have more control standing up, and no lifting from the caregiver is required. See how it works at thefootbarwalker.com. That's thefootbarwalker.com. Peggy, would you recommend the footbar walker?
Do I ever? I would not be in the health that I'm in today at this age had it not been for the footbar walker.
Okay, well, it's time to introduce you to our guests. I do want to remind people we are a live show today, so if you have any questions or comments, you can call in at 323-870-4602. That's 323-870-4602. So let me introduce you to Steve. Steve Toll is a classically trained musician and composer. He is a care and hand specialist at ComforCare Home Care. His interest is in really this amazing transformation regarding the power of music, and that really inspired him to do some research and develop a philosophy which uses music as a powerful therapeutic tool. He trains caregivers in the use of music for people living with dementia as a daily stream, and has a daily live stream program called Tune In Today, which features memorable songs and interesting musical anecdotes. So welcome, Steve. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Lori. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's fun to have you back on the show. It's been a while since we've chatted here. I always ask everybody, first off, if they've been personally touched by dementia in their own family or circle of friends. So if you wouldn't mind sharing that with our audience, and we'll get into our line of questioning.
Well, that's interesting. I fortunately, in my family, haven't had anyone touched by dementia. But when I started working with music, and this goes back now probably, it's over 25 years ago that I've been working with seniors with dementia. Really the inspiration for this was my wife's grandmother, and she was living in an assisted living in upstate Pennsylvania, and she was someone who had all of her faculties until the day she died at the age of 98. But the interesting thing was when I would visit her, she would say to me, because I'd bring my guitar and we'd play some songs together, and she would say that she had her friends there at this assisted living and that she didn't have any friends. I said, well, what do you mean? All these women that you live with, I know that you know because it was a small town. And she said, well, I don't mean that. She said, I've lost them because they have dementia. But she said, when you come and you bring your guitar and play songs and we sit together, I feel like I have my friends back. So that was really an amazing moment for me to understand how music had that impact to bring these people out of that disorientation and create an environment where they could connect socially again with my wife's grandmother. So that was not a direct family member, but it was really an understanding through her experience that was quite amazing.
Wow, that is amazing. And it is an eye-opener because sometimes we just, we don't know what we don't know. We don't know what they were like before they sat down to listen to your music and things. And for that to give people such joy and connection, we have to teach more people the power of that. So I'm thrilled that you're on the show with us today. Why do you think music is such a powerful medium for people living with dementia?
Well, one of the things about music, and there's been a lot of scientific studies done about music and how it affects the brain, but music has been shown to be the last type of memory to deteriorate, because musical memory encompasses so many areas of the brain. When you remember a song, you don't just remember the song itself. You remember all of the associated memories, the people you were with, the event, the time it was, little special nuances and things that are all wrapped up in that memory. So, that's one of the amazing things, because it does trigger those memories, and then you can bring someone out of a state of disorientation, not knowing where they are, and bring them to a place where we can actually engage and have a conversation. I've seen it so many times. I remember one particular time I was doing a music program at an assisted living, and there was a woman there, and she was sitting and her head was down, and she was sitting in a wheelchair, and her daughter was there that day to visit, and she was sitting next to her. And I started to play Let Me Call You Sweetheart, the old time great sing-along song. And this woman, her head rose, she started to sing, she was looking at me, and she was smiling. Now, after the music session was over, her daughter came up to me, and her daughter was in tears. And she said, my mother has not engaged in almost a year. She's been despondent. She hasn't engaged. She hasn't been able to talk to me. And she said, because you did that song and she sang along now, it really motivated her to sort of come alive, and they actually were able to connect. Now, maybe it was a brief time, but it did make a difference for both the mother and the daughter to be able to have that connection that was all because of the song, all because of that song, and that happened. So, that's an amazing aspect. The other elements of music is that music tends to relax us. It creates a place where we can feel safe. Because of what goes on in the brain, we actually can the endorphins come from music, and actually also oxytocin, which these that occur in the brain, they create a feeling of safety. They create a feeling of engagement, of socialization, of empathy. And so we can all feel better when we hear music. So there's a lot of scientific evidence now that supports this. I know when I first started working with music many years ago, there really wasn't all the science, but now the science supports the fact that music is just such a wonderful tool in so many ways.
Exactly. Well, thanks for sharing that. One of the things I think people wonder about all the time is, how do you select music when you're working with someone else? I mean, we all know our own preferences, but how do you figure out what someone else is going to positively react to when, many times people with dementia can't communicate the way they used to?
Yeah, well, one of the things, and we use a tool, and I've been doing this for a long time. You're really getting to know the person. So we have something called a social history assessment, but it's the conversation. As much as you can, speaking with the person with dementia, and when that sort of when you can get as much as you can from the person, then it's family members, it's anyone who knows the person. A lot of times you can find out great information from somebody who, you may not even realize. I mean, I know that I've learned information about people from staff at assisted living It might have been somebody who cleans up the room, or somebody who does food service, or something, because on some level they learn something. So really what I'm getting at is learning as much as you can about the person's past, and how they've related. What did they do? What part of the country are they from? What maybe second language do they speak? What were their hobbies? What were their interests? What type of education do they have? Learning as much as you can, and then you can find out sort of and figure out what may work, and then you try things. Now, I know a particular case of this man, and his name was Charlie. This is a number of years ago, and I met Charlie, and he had Alzheimer's, and he just was agitated all the time. He just did not like to, he didn't like to. The big thing that agitated him was anytime he had to get into the shower or the bath, and that's a fairly common thing. And in speaking with Charlie and speaking with his family, I learned that he grew up in New York City, and he loved the Broadway shows. And there was a particular song that he loved. And so I started to play the song one day, and it's the song Ain't Misbehavin'. No one to talk with, all by my... That song. And Charlie sort of would amble down the hallway, sort of almost dancing down, and he totally forgot the fact that he didn't like to get a bath or a shower, and it worked out perfectly. Yeah. And, so I talked to the caregivers. I said, this works. This is something you can use. Just, start singing that song, take his hands, do a little sort of dance in the chair before he gets up. And it worked like a charm every time. So that was learned because we understood his interest in the Broadway shows and in that one particular show, and he loved that song. So, these are the little gems that you find out by getting to know someone.
Yeah, it's interesting that you made the comment about he forgot he didn't like getting into the shower, because when my mom was having a really difficult time with grooming, I remember talking to Teepa Snow and saying, and I've mentioned this several times on the show, but we always get new listeners, and it was just so profound. I said, it's almost like the water hurts her, and she said it does, and so she recommended getting a handheld and a rain shower. So I went into the nursing home, and I said, I want to replace all of your shower heads in the nursing home to handheld and to rain heads. And the director just shook his head, and he started laughing, and I said, what's so funny? And he's like, you always come in at perfect timing with stuff. And he's like, what makes you, want to do this? And I told him, and he's like, well, what else would you like in the bathrooms? And I said, I'd love to see heated floors and heated towel bars and different colors and music pumped in. And I said, and especially I would love to have staff learn some of the old songs, because I think it would just reduce the stress of that timing. And that was a perfect example of how music just does that. And it's a simple thing. It's free. We don't even have to be on key. I learned that because I don't sing on key. I usually try not to, just to avoid embarrassment. But my mom didn't care. It was all about the melody. And so, yeah, it was kind of interesting there.
Yeah. Exactly, and it really, people say this to me all the time. Well, I caregivers, I can't sing. I don't know the songs. Well, it doesn't matter if you can sing, really, because it's just singing along to things. And I've created a lot of music that's available out there for people to use, to stream, or on YouTube and the different programs that I do, and I can talk about those. But but before I do, just the fact that you're engaging, you're looking at someone, and the songs are simple. I mean, a lot of these are very simple songs, and they're fun. It really is all about it's all about the fun. It's all about the engaging. It's not about the quality of the music. It's not about the talent of the singer or any of that, because this is not about performance. This is about engaging. It's engaging with someone, and that's the difference. We go to concerts and see a performance, and maybe it's a virtuoso and that kind of thing. But this is not about that. This is about just having fun with some familiar songs, and and just having a good time. Now, if people are interested in downloading some music, I have lots of music available on the streaming app called SoundCloud. SoundCloud is a music streaming app. It's free to download it, and you can download it on for an Apple device or an Android device. And once you start that free account, and you search for Joyful Memories, which is the name of our music program, and search for Joyful Memories and my name, Steve Toll, in the search, then there are all these playlists that will come up. And there's over 200 songs there, and it's all categorized by sing-along songs, songs from Broadway shows, folk songs, country songs, inspirational songs. They're all there, and they're all simple productions. It's just me singing and playing the guitar, and so they're really easy to sing along to, and they're very simple to learn, and they're out there for people to utilize. And these resources. Also, YouTube is a tremendous resource for the old songs, and also being able to see some of the performances. I often in my Tune In Today program, which is my live stream program that I do at 1 p.m. Eastern every weekday on the ComforCare Facebook page. I talk about some of the songs. I perform a song, and then I'll let people know who the original artist was. And that if you want to listen to the original artist's rendition of a song, you can find them on YouTube, and it's just an amazing resource because it's all free, and it's just incredible to me. And some of the great songs. Take a song like "Singing in the Rain," simple, fun song to sing along to. If you go and find the original rendition of Gene Kelly and see the dance. And so that's always a fun thing to do. So, I always tell caregivers there's so many great resources. You can engage with someone, and just using your phone or a tablet and bringing these things up and sharing them with someone and enjoying that together. It's so therapeutic and such a great way to connect.
Agree. And like you said, there's so many resources out there that are free for people to tap into, but it's so hard, to find these. And Steve and I were talking offline. I'd love to see you guys join Dementia Map, because that would be a perfect setting for people to be able to help find exactly what you're doing out there, because they really, really need this, especially now. We don't have, so many of the adult days aren't any longer. Either they've gone totally out of business or they're not in business with COVID right now, and families are just really in crisis out there. So that would be wonderful. So again, that's Tune In Today on Facebook at the ComforCare, and that's ComforCare at 1 o'clock Eastern. So that's 12 Central, 11 Mountain, and 10 Pacific time with that. So definitely check that out, those live streams. And then also going to SoundCloud and looking up Joyful Memories and Steve Toll to get a bunch of songs, over 200 of them. So that'll keep you busy for a while.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
And then the other thing that, all of my Tune In Today programs that I do, I also post on our YouTube channel. That's the ComforCare YouTube channel, and there's a playlist there called Tune In Today, and I have every program there listed by date. So if you miss the live stream, it doesn't matter because all of these videos are there for any time, and they're 30-minute programs, and they've got music and some information about the songwriters or maybe the show or, some of my memories of the songs and the memories that are triggered for me. I mean, I have so many memories associated with songs, and, that's really the beauty of music because, we hear a song and then it transports us somewhere, and
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I was a kid, we would I grew up in Philadelphia, and during the summer, we'd go to Atlantic City, New Jersey, and there was a place there called Steel Pier. I don't know if anybody's listening from that area or remembers. This was a great place, and because they had every artist, every singer, every comedian, who performed there. And we would go there once a week. I mean, what a great opportunity it was for me. But I saw all of the great big bands, Count Basie, Duke Ellington, Glenn Miller, the Dorseys, all of those great bands. And I also saw all the great singers, Frank Sinatra, Elvis, on and on, And what I remember so clearly, though, one memory of Louis Armstrong. And I must have been about 10 years old, and I was there. And there was a ballroom at the end of the pier, and it was open on either side. And I remember hearing a song, one particular song that I remember that Louis Armstrong did, and which I still love today, called "When You're Smiling." And it's a great concept. Smiling is a wonderful thing to do, and it's contagious in the best way. But I remember hearing him do that, and I remember just being at the stage and having my arms on the edge of the stage and watching Louis Armstrong perform and seeing people behind me dancing, and my brother was there. And when I hear that song, I can just imagine that. It just comes right to me in my mind's eye. I can see it happening. I even think I can smell the ocean breeze. That's how vivid the memory is that comes to me from listening to that song. And I have lots of things like that, but it's just a wonderful thing because music has the power to transport us. And I say it all the time, transport us to places that we've been, but also to transport us to places that we imagine. There's lots of songs that help us to imagine things, and they're very creative. I play a song called "I Got the World on a String," and that's a great song. I got the world on a string, sitting on a rainbow, got the string around my finger, and it's just such a highly imaginative kind of song that brings up these great images. Or, a song like "Somewhere Over the Rainbow," that's associated with the Wizard of Oz and Judy Garland. And, we can be transported back in time to maybe the first time we saw that great film. I remember how mesmerized I was as a kid seeing that for the first time, and when they got to Oz and the color came on. What an amazing thing that was. So it's all triggered by the music and by the great songs. Our imaginations are just such great places to be, and the emotion that's involved. Because when people are living with dementia, it's really the emotional connection that we can make. We can connect on an emotional level, and music is all about emotion. Music brings forth emotion. It helps us to feel. It helps us to experience these great feelings. And then when we do that together with someone living with dementia, we can experience it together.
Yeah. Well, and I'm so glad you brought up about the emotion and the feelings, because a lot of times I think people forget how emotional music is and how it does trigger a place and time for us in terms of what was going on in our life. And I think that is just so critically important. You had mentioned that you have your tune in today, to kind of be able to capture, an isolated audience. Are there other things that you're doing or ComforCare is doing to reach people who are feeling isolated?
Well, one of the things that we do, and especially this started really during COVID, is doing programs via Zoom and doing sing-alongs with people. You mentioned about adult day centers, and a lot of them, of course, are struggling.
Mm-hmm.
But some of them, and some of the senior centers too, are offering programming via Zoom. And I do several programs with some of the senior centers where I'm doing a sing along with people, and they're there and able to engage together. And we can talk, and they can request songs. It still becomes a lot of fun. So we're doing that, and this is our Joyful Memories program at ComforCare. So many of our offices around the country in Canada are conducting these virtual sing-alongs. Basically, where I'm doing programs and coming across with my computer and playing my guitar and doing the songs that people like, and they can sing along, or they can just sit back, relax, and listen. So that's something that that we're doing, and we'd love to do more of those kinds of things as well. And I also do various presentations about the power of music for different groups around the country that are interested in learning more about music and how to use music in care. Because, it is one of the things that it can be done. Look, let's face it, if we can be together in the same space, perhaps that's better. But, this is a new world, and, and I think that we have to realize that there are ways to connect with one another virtually. And, I know when I do my program, I feel connected to the people who are there. And it is quite amazing. Look, I feel so fortunate to have this technology to allow us to connect, virtually. Because if we didn't have that, it would really be so difficult, and people would even be more isolated and feel alone. But if we can connect virtually, we don't have to feel so isolated. And this is a big issue in our society, people feeling isolation. So with the virtual tools, you can do it, and it's very simple. Something like Zoom, you can have a free account. Doesn't require too much technology, and we can connect that way. So that's something that we're doing, and I suspect that we'll have to be doing it more and more.
Yeah. Now, one thing I just want to clarify with your live streaming, the tune in today, is that free, or is there a charge for that? Because some listeners may be questioning that.
No, that is totally free. To go to that it's on Facebook. It's a live stream. It's free, and also the YouTube channel, ComforCare. All of that is all free. It's all out there for anyone to listen to use. As is the SoundCloud app and all the music. There's no charge for that, and it's free, and you can stream as much as you'd like that music.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. I all of a sudden I thought, I bet somebody out there is wondering about that. We might as well clear that up. Really, our goal really is to get the music out there so people can
can feel better, can enjoy it, can connect. Because, to the extent that we can help people to connect, create a more social environment where there's more kindness and empathy, then, everybody benefits, whatever they're doing, whether it's business or whatever it is. You're going to benefit, because we need to create that kind of an environment where people can connect, and the care that we provide, that we can have good relationships. Caregivers with dementia need to be able to relate to one another. The music is a great catalyst. It's a great tool for these connections that lasting connections, and that's really what we want.
Yep. I so agree, and we have to do this in a way that is comfortable and economical to the population in need, for sure. Can you share some of your most memorable moments in working with the dementia population? I would imagine you have a long list of memorable moments.
I do, and the one that pops right in my mind is one that this happened over 20 years ago, and I tell people this has to do with really this is playing a musical instrument, and I always tell people that think maybe that they can't play their instruments anymore. Maybe people played the piano at one time, or a guitar, or whatever instrument they play. This type of memory, it's like riding the bike kind of a thing. It's a memory that sticks with you. So chances are, if you haven't picked up in a while, you could still play it. But the story is that I was playing, and it was a music program at a dementia care unit, and there was a man there, and he was very sound. But whenever I would play music, he would tap on his legs. And the way he tapped on his legs, you could tell that, he really had like a good sense of rhythm. So his wife was there one day, and I said, your husband seems to have a very developed sense of rhythm. And she said, well, that's not surprising, because he was a drummer in a dance band in the 1930s. And I said, wow, that's amazing. And she brought in a picture, and you could see him in the band. And I said, do you happen to have any of his drums? And she said, well, I think there's a snare drum in the attic. And she came back the following week, and she had that snare drum. And, we put it in front of him and gave him the drumsticks. And I started to play a song. And his head rose. He picked up the sticks, and he started to play like he had never stopped. It was like a miracle. And he looked at me. He even winked his eye at me. And this is someone who did not engage. And from then on, that was what he wanted to do. He'd see me come in with the guitar and almost run to the closet where they kept the drum. And it just turned him on so much. And, for years later, that was part of what he did. And after I wasn't really going there any longer, they would play recorded music, and he would play along. And he became sort of like a celebrity in the place, because everybody loved the way he played. And he, it really just sort of brightened him up. And it was so amazing. And in fact, and this is a while ago, at the time, and this was in Pennsylvania, the local news channel heard about it, and they came, and they took some footage, and they interviewed me, and because it was such an amazing transformation from someone who was basically despondent, not engaged at all, to someone who became like a performer again. And so it was amazing. And he he hadn't forgotten anything. And I still always remember every time I do the song, 5'2", eyes of blue, oh, what those 5 feet can do. Has anybody seen my gal? Every time I play that song, because that was the first one that we played together, I put back to that amazing moment when he started to play. And, that has inspired me for so many years to also tell people, take that instrument out if you haven't played it. Now, I have another one of those regarding playing a musical instrument. I was working with an occupational therapist in Philadelphia, and we were going around and we were doing home visits. And there was a woman taking care of her mother, and we went in the home, and the mother had Alzheimer's disease, and I noticed that there was a piano in the living room, and the lid was closed over the keys. And I said to the daughter, I said, who plays the piano in the home? And she said, well, my mother used to play, but she doesn't play anymore because she has Alzheimer's disease. I said, oh, really? I said, that's interesting. And I went over to the piano, I lifted the lid, and I started to just play a little bit, a few of the keys. And the mother came into the room. She made a beeline for the piano, sat down on the bench, and started to play. And the daughter was completely amazed. And
wow.
She said, this is great. She said, this is great. Now, she said, now when I'm in the kitchen, preparing a meal, I'll know where my mother is because I can hear her playing. Now, we believe in sort of analyzing what had happened there is that because the lid was closed over the keys, that the mother didn't recognize that it was the piano. And so when we lifted the lid and sort of, prompted her by hitting a couple of keys, then she remembered that, she recognized it as a piano. So that's what we believe was going on there. So we have to remember, too, that, someone's senses are altered. When someone is living with dementia, Alzheimer's disease, or any other form of dementia, that they're not seeing things the way we without the disease. So we have to sort of, a lot of times think about that in everything we do when we're thinking about the environment that someone's living in.
Mm-hmm. Well, that makes so much sense. I mean, because a lot of times you'll hear people say, well, go get your coat out of the closet. And people will say, I don't know what a closet is, or go to the restroom. And when the door's shut, they don't know that that's the bathroom. And so that makes total sense with the keys of the piano being covered, her not recognizing that. The other thing I want to say is, and it's kind of been fun for me as we've been talking, but every time you start singing a little bit of a song, I just, and my mom's been gone since 2014. She lived with dementia for 30 years. But I visualize her singing those songs, 5'2", eyes of blue, and off she's going, and her shoulders are jamming with the tunes, and it was just her happy place. And so now when I'm hearing those songs, even though she's gone, they've become my happy place, even though it wasn't my music, because there was so much joy in experiencing her, with those. We have several, I don't know, probably 10 different clips of my mom, and how she just came alive with music. And, the entertainer would play the guitar and sing, and they were going to tape my mom for an hour. She only lasted a half an hour, but of that half an hour, we got all these wonderful clips. And, there'd be times where she'd kind of go back to sleep again, and then she'd wake back up with a big smile on her face. And, some of the words she would remember. Other times she wouldn't, but her hands and her feet, I mean, everything was going to the rhythm of the song. That rhythm was still within her, even if she couldn't remember the words.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, that how rhythm is just sort of hardwired into us. And I talk about that all the time. You hear the beat, the feet start tapping, the hands start clapping, maybe you get up and start to dance if you can, or just dance in the chair. It's linked so much to the music. It is amazing. And one of the other questions that I get asked all the time is, the music that someone like your mother's age, and that you remember, as people, as the baby boomers, come into care, will the music change? And that is true to some extent, but there's lots of songs that I play now too that have become, sort of like the standards, like a lot of the R&B songs, a lot of the songs now from the 60s, and I songs from the 50s and 60s during my program too, and they've become, the kind of songs that maybe have the same significance as the old songs from the 30s. So it'll continue to change, but there's always these great songs. So there's so many songs from the 50s and 60s that that I'm discovering, and things that I knew, and things that I play now, and also some of the old songs that have been redone, and some just wonderful arrangements. One of the songs I discovered recently, and I've always loved this song, but written by Rodgers and Hart, "Some Enchanted Evening" from the great show South Pacific. There's a version of it which I discovered on YouTube by the Temptations. The Temptations do an absolutely beautiful version of that old song, and so that really is amazing. I listened to that, and I also ran across the other day the song "Rhythm of the Rain," which is a song from 1963. I can hear the rhythm of the falling rain. If you remember that one.
Yep.
And
yep.
So and so these now. So I start playing these songs, and I can remember them. I mean, I grew up basically. I was born in 1954, so I was really in the 60s. And the 70s were a time for me for all that music, and so, and there's lots of people, my age and a little older who can remember those great songs from the, the R&B era, of course the songs of the 50s and the doo-wop singing on the corners and all that kind of thing. So, it continues to go on with just some great new classics, I guess you could say.
Yep. Oh, exactly. There's so much out there, and even my mom, she got to like some of the newer songs and stuff too. So I didn't always have to stay necessarily in her genre. She just loved music, and probably hip hop, probably not so much for her, but there was the 80s, the 90s, the 70s. She enjoyed that too.
That reminds me of another story that I was doing a music program at an assisted living, and this is probably 15 or so years ago, maybe more. And there was I remember this little woman sitting in front of me, beautifully dressed, all decked out, and she was there. She was listening to the music very attentively. And, I was doing the old sing-along songs and, the songs of Broadway. And, there was a little brief moment there, and she looked at me and she said, "Do you know any James Taylor?" Mm-hmm. And, so I said, "Sure." And, so after the music session, and this woman at the time was probably in her mid to late 80s. Mm-hmm. And I said, just out of curiosity, how did you happen to, hear James Taylor and listen to his music? And she said, well, when my granddaughter comes and visits, she plays James Taylor for me, and I just love the songs. So and that was a great way that she was connecting with her granddaughter, who was introducing her to the music that she liked. And so, we never know how these connections are going to occur. And, and I do a lot of work with younger people. There's just so many. I was just involved in a program, an intergenerational program. We were working with younger people and pairing them with older people, and this was all virtual. And it's just amazing how they just got along so beautifully and could find so many common things to talk about. One of the most popular things to talk about was music, and sharing favorite songs. So it's a great way for young people and older people to connect as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Like I said, and my mom got me to sing with her because she, her filters were gone. She didn't care. My mom always had a good voice. I've never had a good voice, but she just didn't care. She just wanted me to sing and be happy with her. And so she really got me to loosen up and kind of like get over yourself, just get in the moment. And that was a big gift that she taught me in that process there. Well, I can't believe our hours just flying by. We've got about 9 minutes left. I mean, who would have thought? But time does go by quickly when you're having, I think, an authentic, fun, passionate conversation about making a difference and bringing joy to people in this world. Is there anything that we haven't talked about? I know I want to highlight again the resources, but is there anything else that you wanted to mention, or another story that you wanted to plug that just came to you?
Well, I really just want to encourage everyone to, I always say, share a daily dose of song, have, and, of course, come to my live stream, tune in today, and it's at 1 p.m. Eastern on the ComforCare Facebook page, and you can also go to YouTube on the ComforCare channel, and the Tune In Today programs are there. Everything is free. There's no charge for anything. SoundCloud is also available as a music streaming app. And if you search for Joyful Memories Steve Toll, that's free. It's free to download it. You can have a free account, and you can listen to the music as much as you like. I think that music is one great way. There's so many things happening in the world that can bring us down, we see, negative headlines and all kinds of things. But music is a way that we can connect and maintain positive attitudes, because if we can maintain a positive attitude and keep ourselves in a positive place, that we're going to be healthier, and that it's going to help us to age more gracefully and in a better way. And, it allows us to feel more empathy and be kind. I mean, that's the main thing that I can say. Kindness is such a gift and a wonderful thing that we can do. And music is a great way to promote and share kindness and share empathy and just have a great time, have some fun. Because if we're having fun, we can be positive. And a lot of times I know if I wake up in the morning and maybe I'm feeling a little low, if I put on music, some songs that I like, it always changes my attitude around. So I recommend that everyone does that as much as possible.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And I can't add, because I'm limited to my space on the Alzheimer Speaks radio page, but I will add the SoundCloud and your Tune In Today information on the blog as soon as we're done here, so that people have that. But we do have the email and the website on the radio page, again, that you can go to COM and then 4FOR care.com, where you can find out more information as well. Steve, this has just been such a wonderful conversation, really uplifting, and Lord knows we need our hearts and souls to feel uplifted and to be able to find out new free resources for people too is so important.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
So
I really
important.
appreciate you having me. I've really enjoyed our conversation.
Yes. And again, I hope that you'll consider joining us on Dementia Map to make it even easier for people to be able to find you. There's all kinds of wonderful things on Dementia Map, especially we're really trying to fill that activities section because there are so many families feeling lost right now with the pandemic in and of itself. And like we were talking offline, this has really forced the healthcare industry to serve in different ways, and it's also showing the disparities where we have to be able to get equipment and Wi-Fi out to families in need as well. And so, help bring light to that, but to help spread the word of ComforCare and Steve Toll's wonderful work. So many people love music, so I know I'll be spitting this all out to my Memory Cafe people and so many other groups as well. Very important.
That's great.
Yeah.
And any way that we can spread the word is really a wonderful thing. And I really appreciate you having me, and hope that all the listeners, just listen to music, use music as a way to connect and keep yourselves feeling good.
Yeah, it's a beautiful tool, and it's in front of us all of the time. Again, thank you so much, Steve. I really appreciate you joining us. Steve is the National Director of Music and Special Programs for ComforCare. And till next time, we will talk soon. Bye now.
My pleasure. Bye.
Well, hi, I'm Lori LeBay, and I wanted to tell you about Alzheimer Speaks, which is another great podcast. You see, my own mother lived with dementia for 30 years, and I felt lost. Did you know every 3 seconds someone in the world is being diagnosed with dementia? Odds are it's going to hit your families too. We want to help you connect to services, products, tools, research, and stories so you can be prepared. Please subscribe to Alzheimer Speaks on your favorite podcast platform.